Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Stella in Singapore. So personally, I have participated in some of the webinars as guest speaker sharing about the Polytechnic journey. And in those webinars, I share about pros and cons of the Polytechnic, and then I realized that this is a very common question that most parents and students want to know. I realized that I have never uploaded these pros and cons of the Polytechnic in my YouTube channel. So today I will be doing this video and sharing about it. And it is an important factor that you need to consider before coming to Polytechnic. Pros and cons of the Polytechnic that I will be mentioning in this video is just based on my personal opinion. So it may be vary from person to person, so you can talk to other seniors to get more information and more of their perspectives so that you can make an informed decision. So let's get started. I will make this video short and sweet. So let's get started with pros. Because we are choosing overseas school or university, so the very first factor that we will be considering is the country that we want to go to. So the pros is that Singapore is one of the safest country in the world. If I have to give an example, then we can say like we leave our belongings in the library for lunch or dinner, and when you come back after 30 minutes or 45 minutes, your belonging is still there. And let's say you go for part-time job until the very late night, you can still come back to home with your transportation and it is still very safe. So as for parents, you guys can be reassured that your children are in the safe country. The second pro is related to the tuition fees loan, and I will say that this is not applicable to all the international students. It is only for those who have Singaporean or PR guarantor, and you can get up to 75% of the tuition fees loan, which means that you only need to pay 25% during your study, and it really reduces your financial burden, and it's only about 4K per year. Next, Polytechnic prepare you to work full-time job right after Polytechnic, because Polytechnic put emphasis on hand-on experience, and then you guys have like 6 months internship program, so you guys can work in the company and apply the knowledge that you learn in Polytechnic. So this is very good for your resume that you can put in. You have study related work experience during the Polytechnic and you can apply for the full-time job. Being high education system and having a lot of multinational companies, it means that you guys have a lot of opportunities that may send out to your school email, and then you can grab the opportunities and take the challenges and improve your soft skills and needed skill in your industry. Polytechnic diploma is recognized by a lot of top universities. So if you try very hard and get the GPA that meet the cutoff point of the university, then you can apply for it and go for your dream school. Moreover, it is in the Southeast Asia, and for those Myanmar students, the country is very near to your home country. So it can be either your parents visit you or you visit your parents during your school holiday. So there will be not that much homesickness. Another pro is that you guys can have a part-time job during your study as well as during your holiday. Now I think it is around $10 to $15 per hour, so you can have a part-time job to pay off your living expense. Okay, so let's go to the cons of the Polytechnic. The very first obvious disadvantage is that Polytechnic is the 3 years program and then you guys only get the diploma. Why I'm saying this is a very obvious disadvantage because most of my audience are based in Myanmar, international qualifications. So because some of your friends may go to the other countries and they have the foundation program that is only 1 year or 1 year, I guess, and then they may go to the university straight. However, for you guys, it is 3 years diploma and then you guys can go to the university. There may be exemption or maybe not, so it depends. So it's a very long journey. Next is Singapore. Although Singapore is very safe, it is also one of the most expensive country in the world. So you have to consider your living expense as well. Next, although you get the tuition fees loan from the bank, you have to think that the tuition fees for Polytechnic is 12K per year for international student. So all 3 years together, it is 36K. And although you get the tuition fees loan, you still need to pay back after Polytechnic. And it's the time spent of like 10 years you have to pay back. And if you're going to university again, there are more tuition fees that you have to pay. So it is a lot of financial burden on you. I have mentioned that Polytechnic diploma is recognized by a lot of top universities in the world. However, not all the students make into university after the Polytechnic. This may be because their GPA does not meet the cutoff point, or secondly, they have the financial burdens because they have already spent 36K for Polytechnic. This is not inclusive of the living expense, so there will be more expense for this Polytechnic journey. So you still have to consider this factor if you're aiming for university after Polytechnic. Although I mentioned that Polytechnic students are eligible to do full-time job because this is the qualification that is recognized by the companies. However, as international students, you have to be aware that there is quota for foreigners to have a full-time job, and it is very, very hard to find a job. Especially now, the job market is very, very bad, and then it's very hard to get a job. So this is one of the biggest cons of the Polytechnic, and I believe for those who have gone through Polytechnic, you guys may think that you have wasted 3 years. I do not want to comment on this, but I wish you guys all the best, and then I hope you guys can find a job as soon as possible. Oh wait. Although I mentioned it is very hard to find a job, it doesn't mean the Polytechnic students do not get a job. There are some international students could land a job and then get their pay. And this is really because of the job market, and it is not just for Polytechnic, it is also applicable to other countries as well as the university graduate. So I think it is based on your luck and then how hardworking you are and then what qualification you have. Last but not least, it is very hard to get permanent residence in Singapore, which means that if you want to stay in Singapore, you need to have either student pass or the work pass during your full-time job. So you have to consider these factors as well. Okay, so these are all about pros and cons of the Polytechnic based on my personal opinion. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to comment down or send me the message in Stella in Singapore Facebook page. And remember to subscribe my channel and follow my other social media. Bye bye!